I'm not going to lie to y'all. It's a real sad day in America. We're starting to see the third phase of what I consider the third phase, and hopefully we'll never get to the fourth phase of Operation Take Trump Down.
You know, majority of America has started to realize that when they see Donald Trump up on stage preaching to his flock, leading his cult like a good cult leader, he's never up there talking about making your lives any better. He's not talking about lowering the cost of health care. He's not talking about raising Social Security payments. He's not talking about making college more affordable. He's not talking about taking care of single mothers that need daycare. He's not talking about any of that. He never does. Do you ever hear him talk about his solution for inflation? Ever? Do you ever hear him talk about any of his solutions? Ever? You never hear him talk about ways to make Americans' lives better. That's not his shtick. He is running so that he can make his life better. He's running so he can stay out of jail. He's running so he can seek revenge on those that have harmed him, those that sought to hold him accountable for his many crimes and misdeeds. He wants to eliminate half the country, us vermin. He wants to eliminate us from our country so that he can rule over the half of you that love him so much. He's not running for the country. He's not running for any of you. He's running for him.
People always like to make this argument that Trump somehow cares about himself. And I always present them with the idea that this man could literally be on an island somewhere, spending the rest of his days playing golf, eating whatever he wants, flying to whatever he wants, and just living his life. He doesn't have to actually put up with this mess. I mean, obviously, since he's willing to do so, they're definitely doing everything they possibly can to tear down his reputation. And we know that they're trying to get rid of him having any sort of security. They want his security taken away from him, his detail, which obviously puts his life at risk. And now they saying that he violated his gag order, and instead of giving him fines, they are now attempting to take him to jail. This is why I say they're moving into the third phase of Operation Take Trump Down. I don't know what's happening.
Former U.S. Attorneys Andy McCarthy and Brett Tolman. Gentlemen, we'll see how much we can get to here, but this is what's happening inside the courtroom right now. Judge Merchan just said it's clear the $1,000 fine is not working. He said going forward, this court will have to consider a jail sentence. He then said, the last thing I want to consider is jail. You are a former president and possibly the next president, end quote. Andy, why don't we just start right there, because he's going to assess the gag order yet again. The gag order stays, but he'll assess the fine. So I think you're up to 10, 11, maybe 14 grand. I don't know. I lost count. Care. Andy, go ahead.
Bill, as I said to you last week, if I were Trump, I basically bring in a check for 10 grand every Monday and just say whatever I want. This is all politics at this point. I don't think the judge, I mean, it's easy for me to say because he's not going to put me in custody, but I don't think the judge, because of the politics of this, it would be disastrous politics for the Democrats, for the judge to put former President Trump in jail over this. So he'll continue to fine him. And as long as that's what it is, I think Trump should just pay the fine and otherwise say what he wants to say.
He can afford it.
He can't incite. He can't defame. And if he says something really stupid, the prosecutors can use that against it. That ought to be enough.
I want to go back to last Friday. Late in the afternoon, Brett, Hope Hicks said this. Trump was worried about how this would be viewed at home, meaning the Stormy Daniels matter. Mr. Trump really values Mrs. Trump's opinion. She doesn't weigh in all the time, but when she does, it's valuable. And she also talked about him trying to make sure that his family is proud of his campaign. How much play does that have with the jury? I guess we'll find out when this thing wraps.
Well, Bill, you know, it's a pretty simple calculation. At this point, the prosecution is not really worried about a conviction because everything that they're identifying right there, all that you listed that was stated in front of the jury, really does outline where Trump was, what his mental state, and that's what a crime has to include, a criminal intent. At this point, we have not heard anything that suggests it was a crime for him to not want his family to hear some of these salacious details that were in the media. And it's not surprising, and the jury is going to react to that, I think probably pretty positively, given Hope Hicks' testimony.
Now, what do you think of this whole idea, Andy? I mean, here we are at 9:38. Court could resume any moment now. And we have no idea who will be on the stand. It doesn't really matter about us. But it's the attorneys for the defendant. They are given no heads up to prepare, to get ready, just like when Hope Hicks walked out there at 11 a.m. on Friday morning. Maybe she comes back, or maybe we push on. Do you know of a case where the witness list was kept from the defense attorneys?
I've never heard of such a case, Bill. It's usually not in the prosecutor's interest, because the judge then has to give the defense, if it's going to be fair, the judge has to give the defense some time to get ready for cross, which means the jury sits around, which the prosecutor never wants. But, it's not any less unfair, if you think about it, Bill, than having an indictment that doesn't tell former President Trump what the crime is. So if he's not being even told what the crime is, which is about as basic as it gets as a due process violation, this is just par for the course. This is a travesty.
We are seeing new pictures now. This is part of the pool. The photographer goes in and takes a couple shots. And Dana, I can officially report to you, red tie, white shirt on this Monday. Brett, back to the whole thread of jail time. The judge also said the magnitude of that decision is not lost on me. Your continued willful violation of the court's order constitutes a direct attack. It will not be allowed to continue, not allowed to continue. Do you see this as a possibility that the former president would actually be jailed before this thing has gone to a jury?
A lot.
Well, absolutely. The judge is boxing himself in his own corner at this point. He's going to be the one that is going to threaten, and he's going to fine this limited fine. And he's doing it with the underlying order being unconstitutional. How does anybody that's in the position of Donald Trump, who knows it's an unconstitutional order, how does he, with all of his ability to communicate to the American people, how does he not make comments? How does he not talk about this case? He knows it's going to be an issue on appeal, but it's the judge who's now put himself in this position, and he's going to have to put him in jail because he's now threatened it. Otherwise, he looks feckless, and the president gets stronger.
One other thing to add here, in addition to $1,000 fine for a gag order violation, the judge is saying by 2:15 this afternoon, May 6, 2024, any posts on Truth Social must be taken down. So that was ordered from the bench a moment ago as well. We'll see what we get, gentlemen. Andy McCarthy, Brett Tolman, thank you so much.
On the side of, there shouldn't be a fine in the freaking first place at all. I don't think that he deserves jail time, because what they doing, in my opinion, is illegal. They're violating this man. He cannot speak his mind and talk about what's happening, but everybody else can. What? I seen a comment where somebody said Judge Merchant is mostly afraid that some truth will get out about how his daughter is somehow making money off of this Trump trial. I haven't really dived into that, but it was a comment that I seen that definitely poked my interest. What it really is the fact that Trump could afford to put his money where his mouth is. And when he talks, it ain't cheap. Literally. For him, though, it is cheap, right? Like, for us, it's hella expensive. But for him, he like, yeah, talk is cheap. You know what I mean? What, $10K a week? Like they suggested, he might as well. Trump, he got that, bro. For sure. I don't know. It's crazy that they somehow actually believe that all of these trials and everything that they're trying to put them through in terms of putting them through the ringer is somehow going to prevent people or convince them not to go in his direction this November. This witch hunt against Trump is the Biden trials, and it explains just how deep in the foul play is on the other end of the curtain. And then you have others saying things like, so it's okay for Trump to break the rules of the court. You over here saying that he can afford to pay for it, yada yada. Like, so what you saying is he Well, nah, man. I don't believe that you should want to violate the rules of the court, but in this case, they're violating this man's amendment rights. So he don't even have the right to free speech.
Mr. Trump, is Michael Cohen a liar? Are you going to testify?
I have a gag order as to that first question. As you know, they've taken away my constitutional rights, so I'm not allowed to answer that question. This has never happened in this country before. It's a ridiculous thing. It's a ridiculous case. I did nothing wrong, absolutely nothing wrong. Take a look at Greg Jarrett this morning. He went on. Take a look at Andrew McCarthy or Jonathan Turley or Mark Levin. It's like they say there's no case here. And yet the judge has gagged me, and I'm not allowed to talk about, I guess, his total conflict. The judge is totally conflicted, and you ought to take a look at it. And I'm not supposed to be talking about it. But I am allowed to say that the judge has a conflict that like nobody's ever had before. You ought to take a look at it. He's taken away my constitutional right to speak. I was in Miami this weekend, and reporters are asking me questions, the same questions like you're asking me, and I have to say I have a gag order. I can't speak about it. Never happened before, ever. Number one. Number two, it's a fake trial. They have no case, and it's been absolutely proven now. They have no case whatsoever. This is Alvin Bragg doing it for political reasons for Biden. This is a Biden trial. He's a crooked president. Now, it just came out, Columbia just canceled their commencement. Axios. Columbia just canceled their commencement. That shouldn't happen. And it also came out that the protesters, many of the protesters, are backed by Biden's donors. Okay? Are you listening, Israel? I hope you're listening, Israel. Hope you're getting smart. But they're backed by Biden donors. That's where the money's coming from. And I'm not surprised at all. There's many other articles, many of them having to do with the gag order and the unconstitutionality having to do with the gag order. And it is unconstitutional, and it shouldn't be allowed. And I wish people could move a little bit quicker, the appellate courts, because the whole world is watching this, and they see what's happening. More importantly, frankly, they have no case. They have absolutely no case. It's a political hoax. It's election interference. Anything they can do, and even the witnesses they want to bring up, they have nothing to do with the case. This is a ridiculous situation. Not fair, but we will fight. Thank you.
Mr. President, how's your defense team doing?
How's the judge conflicted? Which witnesses were you speaking about?
As my guy, Common Sense Custodian, wrote, 1000% correct. We have the right to free speech in this country for a reason. We have the right for free speech in case of things just like this, where a judge has serious connections to the political party going after him. We have free speech so people can say and speak truth, just like the things Trump is pointing out. Yeah.